The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Friday. And here we go.
And it's a day. You know, the first thing we need to address, just so the people of Fall River know, Sunday, you may not have water.
And if you do, it'll be brown.
Yeah, if you do, it'll be brown. So the city sent out a notice on the 14th of April via their website. Nobody in Fall River knew about it. You know, this is how we inform people. We don't tell them. So the notice reads, public notice, the Fall River Water Division is implementing electrical improvements at our drinking water treatment facility. This requires a temporary shutdown of the facility, meaning no water shall be pumped. The shutdown shall be scheduled for a Sunday morning, as this is our lowest demand period. The planned shutdowns are as follows. April 24th, 2016, estimate of a 6-hour shutdown. There is also the potential for shutdowns on May 1st as a backup date. During these shutdowns, we shall use limited water in our storage tanks. We ask that all users minimize their water use. Customers may experience low water pressure, rusty water, and in some cases, short-term loss of water during the shutdown. Please conserve during these dates. Terry Sullivan, Administrator of Community Utilities. So again, Terry, I've got to say, absolute failure. Absolute failure. You failed to notify the public.
And not only that, even if you did send out this notice, it says it will be shut down April 24th, an estimate of 6-hour shutdown. What 6 hours? Is it going to be from 12 to 6? You know, from noon to 6 p.m., from 8 o'clock in the morning? Is it they're going to shut it down at 6 o'clock in the morning till noon? I mean, it's just, you know, I mean, they're planning it at its lowest demand period, so why don't they have somebody come in a little earlier and do it where it's going to have the least interruption of service to the people?
And how about overnight?
Yeah.
How about from midnight to 6 a.m.?
Heaven forbid we do that.
Yeah, I know, midnight to 6 a.m.
That would
make perfect sense. Most people in the city are asleep. The water demand usage is really low at that point, so why not do that? But again, absolute failure in notification, and of course, when you fail in Fall River, what do you get? You get a raise.
Yeah, not only that, you know what they're going to say. If you know, we're called them on it, you know what they're going to say? Well, we put it on the website. Well,
yeah, well, you know what?
And how many people really go to your website? How many people are looking for water alerts on the website?
Exactly.
You know, it's
you know, and the funny thing is, we've invested in a reversed call notification system for snow removal, parking bans, school notifications. We couldn't send this out to everybody in that system.
No, that would be the logical thing to do. That's the last thing we ever do.
That would make sense. So
that's right.
But so thank you again, Terry Sullivan, for once again failing the people of Fall River. You know, I got a phone call after the Tuesday night debacle, known as now we're gonna call it the applause cessation movement, or the pom-pom destruction movement. And people are saying, you know, they can't do this. It's a violation of my First Amendment rights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I know your position, Chip, because you believe that people have the right to express themselves no matter what. You would rather have the House of Commons than the City Council the way it is.
True.
But
I mean, are they going to outlaw signing?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know they're trying to outlaw one of them, and it appears somewhere between these figures.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, it is ludicrous.
It's ludicrous.
Look, everybody can have their own opinion, and I'm not saying that, you know, even though I like the House of Commons where there's sometimes total disruptions, which to me is part of the process. If you're really allowing the people, what better thing than have, you know, your representatives be able to have a little really aggressive discourse. But you know, they keep trying to make this thing like it's a church, when it's the house of the people. That's my opinion. I'm not saying, you know, but the fact is, I don't understand why This is the House of the people. They're conducting the business of the people. They're the representatives of the people. The Constitution of this state says they are at all times accountable to the people. So what's wrong with allowing them, if they like something, to clap? If they like someone's opinion and they support it, how are they going to know if they all sit there like mummies? You know, then it's their excuse. Well, we only had one person talk about this at Citizens Input. Well, if the other 50, 100 people that were there supported it, if they show some applause, well, okay. You don't have, the applause doesn't have to last for 5 or 10 minutes. But now they're saying you can applaud when they give out citations because that's politically good for them.
Right.
So everybody can clap when it's about them, but when the people decide to get their opinion, they can't. So my next question is to the city council, if you can clap during the presentations of certificates, can you boo the people who disagree with a citation? If they're giving a citation out to somebody that I don't agree with because it's all political crap, can I sit there and boo? Because, you know, clapping, but there's also, you know, you're allowing some kind of noise, so, is booing okay? I mean, you know, the whole thing is ludicrous. Look, this nation was built on discourse. There was nothing more. There was nothing more that was a three-ring circus than the Continental Congress. They had people standing up wanting to execute people because they were traitors to the king. They wanted these people hung because they said they wanted to start a new nation. This nation was built on discourse and the ability. And I'm gonna quote John Kennedy here because I believe it very truly. He said that conformity is the jailer of democracy. When everybody thinks the same and talks the same and walks the same, that's conformity. And that is the jailer of democracy. The only thing that moves something forward is differing opinions. Doesn't mean the opposite opinion is right. Doesn't mean the opinion that's being accepted is right. But sometimes, as we've said time and time again, that's the only thing that actually moves things. Because then you can come up with something in the middle that may be the actual thing. This is an indictment of the way Fall River does business. The fact is that our politicians think they're some kind of monarchs, and now they outlawed pom-poms, by the way, too. They said you can't wave a pom-pom either, so it's like, I don't know. I mean, why do we bother going? We should just, the hell with it, just let them do.
And
that's what they want. They want to eliminate the public from the city council meetings so they can all stand up there and they can all editorialize for an hour on every little subject. And it's just, to me, it's disgraceful.
Now that you got onto that, and welcome, Carlos. You were late. 3 demerits for being late.
That's right.
You'll be taken out back. You'll be taken out back and flogged later.
I was 1 minute late.
And now that you come onto that, there's an old saying: there is one law for the rich and the poor. But there's an actual phrase from a poet who says, it is supposed to be one law for the rich and the poor, not one for the poor and one for the rich. The rich don't sleep under bridges or steal bread. But for our city council, it's one law for the rich and the poor. And our city council president, like it or not, threw the gauntlet down on Tuesday night. And he said, no applauding, I'll clear the chamber, et cetera, et cetera. And that's fine. That is his right. That is his right. And I do believe in a little bit of decorum while you're in the chamber. You don't call a city councilor an idiot. You may say your vote's idiotic. Your statements were, the statements of the council have been moronic. But you don't say, Joe Smith, you're an idiot, you're a moron, whatever. Because you got to talk about the seat. So when there's one law for everybody, and I got numerous phone calls about it, and I and another viewer, who I have a great deal of respect for, we did a little bit of research. And under Subdivision 3, Section 292, addressing of the city council, every member of the city council, when about to speak, shall address the chair as Mr. President and confine himself to the question under debate, avoiding personalities. No member in debate shall mention another member by name. but may describe him by some designation as may be intelligible and respectful. No member shall speak or vote out of his place without leave of the president. Hence why we use counselor in seat 1, counselor in seat 2, counselor in seat 3. Now, I'm going to take this one step further. Okay? No member of the city council while speaking shall be interrupted by another except by a call to order or explanation. And there is a restriction on the number of speeches under 294. No member of the city council shall speak on the same question more than once until all members choosing to speak shall have spoken. How many times have we heard these 3 ordinances, 3 pieces of law violated? Well, the gauntlet was thrown down, and now the people want to throw down their gauntlet. And somebody's got to give in here because this is going to be a problem. Under Section 1-15, general penalty, any person who violates a provision of this revision or of any ordinance of the city, whether included in this revision or hereafter enacted, whereby any act or thing is enjoined or prohibited or required, shall, unless other provision is expressly made upon conviction, be liable for a penalty not exceeding $300 for each offense. This section shall not preclude the city from proceeding to restrain the violation of any provision of this revision or other ordinance of the city by injunction where such proceedings is more appropriate. Each day a violation continues shall constitute a separate offense. And also that can be reviewed under revision ordinances of 1988, sections 1-13, and Mass State Law, Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 21, and Section 21D. So, every time Councilor Pereira says, and Councilor Mitchell and I, $300. When Sean Kadim says, I recognize City Council Chair number 1, Joe Smith, whatever, $300. So I went to the city clerk. I said, who's responsible for finding this? Oh, that's the Florida Police Department. Well, they're not doing their job. I said, what if the Florida Police Department doesn't want to do it? Well, then you have a problem. Why is the law applicable to us, but not applicable to them? So the gauntlet has been thrown down, and the people are asking the questions. The other issue that people are now having, because again, Sean Kadim, you did this. You threw the gauntlet down. You have signs outside of the city council chamber. It says, no food or drink. Yet, Linda Pereira brings in a coffee. The city clerk brings in a coffee. Everybody has candy on their desks. You have the rule, no food or drink, yet you violate them. There are allegations that a city councilor has been, usually utilizing his position to obtain services from the city at no cost to himself. There are allegations of it, and allegations are just that. They're allegations. It doesn't mean they're proven, doesn't mean they're right, doesn't mean they're wrong. And that's why I'm not naming names here. But you know what? The gauntlet was thrown down. Somebody has got to stop. This can create a massive storm that nobody wants to have. So remember, the people's freedom of speech is there, and there is decorum. And just so the people who are watching this know, the city council president does have the authority to ask that a disruptive individual be removed, and that individual can be charged under Mass General Law for disruption of a meeting. Now, if the entire room breaks out and starts clapping, what are they going to do? Arrest the entire city council chamber? This is going to be an interesting scenario to see how the people taking back their government actually works.
Let me add this, because I already expressed my opinion about clapping at the city council. But with that being said, and every time that we talk about the issue of clapping, we talk about the booth, we talk about people calling names. This is nothing to do with those. The only thing we need to talk about here is clapping. And 2 seconds, 3 seconds of clapping is not going to stop a meeting from happening. It's not even going to disturb whoever is talking. Okay? So that's what we need to concentrate. And last night, I had to watch twice the meeting when the councilors were talking about the clapping, so I could understand they didn't know what they were voting on. They were total lost. because they start throwing so much stuff into the table that they got themselves lost when it comes to vote. And they had 2 motions on the table voting at the same time. That's how lost they were. So, and kudos goes to seat number 2 and seat number 8 that really speak in behalf of the people's voice. All the others use an excuse to hide their votes under the president. That's what they did when seat number 3 gives all the authority to Mr. President, I will do whatever you want me to do. All the other that went and follow seat number 3 just gave up their vote. So we know they are against clapping on the chamber. So what I would like to see is from seat number 1 all the way down to seat number 8, how they voting on the clapping and not hiding themselves behind the president.
Well, you know, Carlos, you're right, but the fact is, what really disturbs me about that whole scenario was they're talking about decorum and they're talking about proper behavior, and the first order of decorum at a meeting is adherence to the rules of order, and they never do. I mean, the fact that what you just said, we had a motion that was, you know, the counselor in seat number 3, who was a past council president, and he was actually, him and 4 other people were thrown out because they were so dictatorial during that period that the public got really upset. But he apparently that's his philosophy. When you're the president, you're in absolute power. But he made a motion while there was a motion on the floor. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. You know, there are priorities of motions. You know, and we've said this, I don't know how many.
Let's not beat that dead horse already.
How many, yeah, well, I mean, how many hundreds of times have we said that the city council's adherence, and even though Cushing's rules of order is a lot more lax than Roberts or Atwood's, they never adhere to that. They debate on non-debatable motions. They interrupt motions and put another motion. They amend motions and don't vote on the amendment before they put it on the motion, then vote on the motion as amended. I mean, look, so they're telling us that we're destroying the decorum when they don't even have any decorum. They run a meeting basically as they see fit. Then we have bickering between city councilors, but that's okay. And as you said, we're not talking about, look, it's the president's job to maintain order. Mm-hmm. Order. And
we don't want to take that away from him.
And we're not going to take it away from him. He has that right. As you said, if somebody speaks and they like it and people clap, for a minute or so, or, 30 seconds, so what? Okay, and we're not saying they can get up and start screaming obscenities and, then you're going to have them arrested. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, this is what bothers me, and you can disagree with me out there. You can say that this is no longer the house of the people. It's their, they are monarchs, they are in control, and we are not. They are not answerable to us. We are answerable to them, which is what they're saying. And I don't agree with that. The Constitution of this state, the Constitution of this nation, says that the people run this government, and for the people to be able to say, to show their reaction, what are they going to do? Have somebody speak at public input and have people mail in whether they agreed or not? You have people there. If they agree with something or they think something's a really good point, let them clap. We're not talking about disruption. We're talking about the people expressing the way they feel. And
then what happens is when you don't allow people to express the emotion, happens what I witnessed after the meeting. Because that's another hour show. Well, what happened there after the meeting, okay, that the people now just remove the Band-Aid from their mouth, right. They express themselves. And another thing is, Tuesday, I saw 3 police officers. Don't we have enough crime on the city to better use our police department that have 3 police officers in a city council meeting? We went from 1 police officer to 3 police officers on the chamber. What's going on in here?
No, you're right. And the thing is, it's funny you talked about tape. I made the front page of the Herald News once with masking tape over my mouth at a meeting because the city council scheduled a special meeting at a special time and wouldn't allow citizens' input. And it was about the contract fire chief.
Well, you know,
and the fact is that this has always been a problem in Fall River. Once the city council or a mayor gets their mind set that they want to do something, they don't even allow public debate. They do everything in their power to eliminate the people's ability to show how they feel. They scheduled a special meeting. They sent, of course, Bob Carrera is a former state rep. He sent that thing up on a jet plane to Boston, and they ramrodded that thing through, even though it was wrong. And, you know, they violated the law, but they got it through so quickly, we had no recourse. They'd already done it. But this is another example of how they ignore us, and they not only ignore us, if they know there's enough people upset, they completely eliminate debate. They'll call special meetings and have no citizens' input. They don't want to hear it. But basically what they're saying is, listen, we've made up our mind. We don't give two craps about what you people want, and we're just going to do it.
And you have City Councilor Ray Mitchell saying, I don't listen to citizens' input anyways. So we know, and I said that before I had my citizens input this time out, but enough of beating this dead horse, because you know what? The City Council should be dealing with more important information.
We will have more in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Power to the people.
Yeah. You know, in the paper again, Steve Camara, foreclosure on his property, failure to pay his mortgage, and this is the guy that, you know, he's amazing. So we have two city councilors now in foreclosure. One is the financial whiz kid, according to the people of Fall River, and, you know, the city council and everybody under the sun, he was the financial whiz kid, yet he can't even manage his own home finances. Why should he be able to manage Fall River's finances? And Steve Camara. And Steve Camara's loans are guaranteed by CDA money. That's Fall River money. So this is questionable. And at this point, I think what people are asking for of resignations of some of these people is probably appropriate. But I think one of the big things that we have to realize is, and I have information about the school committee and everything, but we're really running out of time. I always hate that. We need 5 hours for a show, and people would watch.
But just looking at these numbers, you know, it's like, how it's possible? Somebody cannot even get $100,000. How it's possible?
Well, let me. I got to say this. I know we're running credit, but the quote from him. This is the real world of a property owner, unquote. Yeah. Well, guess what, Steve? You don't worry about the real world of the property owner when you increase fees and taxes for the people that make a lot less money than you do. So, you know something? Let's remember the real world that we live in Fall River.
And he blames
all I got to say about this.
And he blames his tenants. He says his tenants aren't paying the rent, so that's his problem.
Well,
but, you know, Mary Sahadi was on Radio Pravda today. And by the way, I know that Bobby Karen watches because there was a request to put a recording on our show that came from another viewer, and I don't think it's appropriate. I have it set up to play, but I'm not going to. Sorry, viewer. And she's saying how, you know, this is, you know, Fall River's bonding for police cars and trucks for 15 years, and we know these vehicles aren't going to make 15 years. And Faust Fiore, Chris Pereño, and Mary Sahadi threw the Sutter administration and the Flanagan administration under the bus. But meanwhile, they didn't say, oh, by the way, those bonding issues had to be approved by the city council, which, who was on the city council at the time? The mayor, the current mayor. So the current mayor approved these bonding. So guess what? He's just as liable. So Mary Sahadi, we already know that your company, by your partner's testimony, doesn't do their job anyhow. And we have that printed deposition, sworn deposition. So don't come back and say, you guys are slandering me, it's libel. No, it's fact. We have it.
I have to clarify. They said they did it because of the lack of data that the city had. They didn't keep records.
Right.
They don't have sufficient records. But let me say something quick. I think CJ, we have to consider doing another special on the way we bond and the way we pay things, because we're going to be looking up campaign finance reports, because we're paying 4 or 5 different companies to do fundamentally something you could get one company to do and save a lot of money. So we have to get to the bottom of why we do this, because why should we be paying 4 different companies unless we're looking for 4 different people to give to our campaigns? And why are we bonding and only paying the interest and never paying the bond, and then we rebond to pay that bond? So in actuality, we never have paid any of these things off.
No, we haven't.
We're still paying, 30 years later, and we have to ask, as Steve Camara said, in the real world, we can't do that. We can't continue to run up credit cards and never pay anything off forever. And I think we really need to do a special on
Well,
that.
we'll have to get together and do that in a production meeting. Okay, the press release from the mayor announcing the committee to select, we don't have a lot of time. We got less than 4 minutes. The members of the search committee for the superintendent is Rebecca Cusack, Lorraine Gagne of the Florida Educators Association, Matt Dismaris representing school administration, student representative Meredith Forcier, Nick Christ of the Chamber of Commerce, Durfee High School principal Maria Ponce, school committee members Mark Costa, Edward Costa, and Melissa Panchley, Chris Parreño representing the mayor, parent representatives Stephanie Picard, Chanel Stewart, Nicole Shaws, and Michael Salmon, Bill Perkins of People Incorporated, Joanne Pelletier of Bristol Community College, and the Mass Association of School Committees Consultants Jim Hardy and Glenn Kauscher. The mayor said, "I'm going to take a step back from the search committee's work. The recommendations will be entirely their own. When their work is done, I'll be closely involved as a chairman of the school committee. It is a great committee full of talented, public-minded people, and I'd like to thank them publicly for their service. I'm looking forward to the process." Guess what, Mr. Mayor? You didn't step back because you want to give them free rein. You step back because if you're on that committee, it then becomes a meeting where you have to have open meeting law violations.
And not only
if you're
that,
not announcing them.
you put the people on the committee, so they're going to look that way. I served for 2 meetings on a superintendent search committee, once with the Education 2000, and I resigned because after the second meeting, I realized that it was all a bunch of, it was a dog and pony show.
That's all it is.
And they were going to pick the only candidate who didn't have a PhD as a
That's right.
superintendent, and so I resigned from the committee. I said, I'm not going to justify this process by being part of it. I said, because I can already name the superintendent of schools.
And I'll guarantee you that once we know who the candidates are, you and I can sit down in less than 2 seconds, pick who that is. Because this list of people is a joke. It's a joke. The only person on that entire list I think I have any respect for is Maria Ponce, the Durfee High School principal. And now that we get to Durfee High School, because we only have 2 minutes left, the high school report on Durfee High School. Student-teacher ratio, 13 students to 1 teacher. And they take in everything into account, even though some teachers aren't teaching. And the college readiness quotient, 16.2% of the students are ready for college when graduating. Isn't that poor? But we have a great school system, thanks to Meg Mayo Brown. Our rankings, we have no awards. We have no national rank. We're unranked nationally. Total enrollment is 2,253, 35% are minorities, 70% are economically disadvantaged, with 178 full-time teachers. Test scores, again, 16.2% college readiness. Okay.
I think we need another special just on the school department.
I think it's unfortunate that these figures weren't read off when they gave Meg Mayo Brown that glowing introduction when she appeared before the city council.
I know.
And how she turned our school system around and what a great job she was. It's the same one they wanted to boot, and then when she gets in front of the council, again, they create a myth. We're
Right.
going to let her go with all these bouquets that if you did turn the school system around, okay. But let's see the numbers. 16% ready for college.
Yep.
That means 84% aren't.
That's right.
And another true story from Mick Mayo Brown. I don't have to come and ask $500,000. I found a way for you to give me that money.
There you go. I'm glad she can find it because we need it. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Remember, somebody pick up that gauntlet already. And don't clap.
Stay angry and demand a special on how we handle our bonding.